Namaskar, I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Welcome to the brand new episode of In Focus. In this show, we take a closer look at issues in development that are critical to India's growth story. We know that India is largest milk producer in the world, contributing to some 23% of global milk production. Annual milk production in the country has also grown by 6.4% every year in the past 5 years. Now, the time has come for next level of reforms and development. The Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Government of India, with a view to provide dedicated focus towards promoting and facilitating investments in Indian dairy sector, has set up a dairy investment accelerator under its investment facilitation cell. Now, this accelerator is a cross-functional team constituted to serve as an interface with investors and entrepreneurs. It shall provide support across the investment cycle. Dairy Investment Accelerator will work with the government to organize a series of events with global and local industry participants, one-on-one discussions with investors to understand their requirements and perspectives, facilitate direct interactions with government officials, and connect with other players in the industry. Now, this is the subject in focus today, and let me quickly introduce you to the eminent guests who are joining me in this conversation today. We have with us Varsha Joshi, Joint Secretary, Cattle and Dairy Division, Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Ministry of Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Government of India. We also have with us Mayank Jalan, Chairman and Managing Director, Keventer Agro, and Co-Chairman, CII, National Committee on Animal Husbandry and Dairy. And we also joined by Manish Bandalesh, Managing Director, Mother Dairy, Fruit and Vegetables Private Limited. Good afternoon and a warm welcome to all our guests in the program. Varsha ji, if I can begin with you. We already know about India being the largest milk producer in the world. If you could first give us a perspective, a picture of where does the sector stand today and the scope of reforms that we're going to talk about.
Good afternoon, a pleasure to be here. Yes, you're absolutely right. India is the world's largest milk producer. In fact, the latest data shows that, this is the 2019-20 data, shows that we produce almost 200 million metric tons of milk per year, which is, to be very honest, a little more than what we had also projected or imagined. That shows how important the dairy sector and animal husbandry in general is for the entire economy. Dairy makes up around 5% of the GDP. Right. So it's a huge contributor to income of farmers. And in particular, as you probably know very well, the farmers who have dairy in India, they have a few cows. They are not the rich and huge farms that you have in the Western countries. Here we have the smallholder or the landless farmer who has the cows. And that is the beauty of the dairy sector in India, that we were able to aggregate from so many small farmers through the cooperative movement over the decades and make the industry as big as it is today. Today, the processed milk industry is something like 3 lakh crores in size, which is huge. But still, there's a lot of growth possibility. And you'll be astonished to know that the growth in this sector is about 8%. Which is equal to manufacturing or services and much more than any other agricultural commodity. So the scope here is huge, and that's what we are hoping to tap the kind of investments that are coming in and make it an even more booming sector for our farmers.
Right. Mayank, if I can come to you, it clearly, as Varsha ma'am puts it, is an exciting place to be in as an entrepreneur. We're talking about Dairy Investment Accelerator. What kind of game-changing initiative could this be when the investment that is needed can be managed, can be promoted in a more organized way?
So, thank you for that question. If we just put it in the context of where we are the largest producer and we are the largest consumer of dairy in the world. India has gone through a journey where we had to depend on imports, and today we are coming to a stage where we are self-sufficient, and in the coming years we can also probably be excess in terms of what we produce. There are 80 million farmers who are directly contributing to the dairy industry, which means approximately there are about 300 million people who are getting some form of income or supplementary income. Now, as we go ahead and we start looking at 2030 and 2040, We need a lot of investment to come in the private sector as well as the cooperative sector in the dairy business. We need to start targeting making higher value-added products. We need to ensure that food safety is the top priority when it comes to our dairy industry. We need to ensure that our products are marketed all around the world. And this can only happen if all the stakeholders, whether it's the government or the private sector or the farmers or the cooperatives, come together and work together to scale up what we have today. So this initiative, which has been taken by the DAHT, I think is a very welcoming move, and it comes at the right opportune time where all of us can get together, join our hands, and make sure the coming 10, 12 years in the dairy industry, we can target a higher growth than even 8%. A 6.4% CAGR in an agriculture-led commodity is incredible. And I strongly feel that for the private business, as well as the general agriculture economy related to dairy business, it has the opportunity to grow at a much faster pace than what's been growing right now. And this kind of an accelerator program, support from the government will go a long way in ensuring those dreams come true.
Right. Manishi, you lead Mother Dairy. If I want to learn from you about the investment ecosystem in the dairy sector, also from the perspective of both the farmers and the end users who go up to a shop to purchase milk products at an affordable cost, how significant this reform in the investment scenario is likely to be?
Thanks a lot. I'll just quickly just add to what Madam Varsha Joshi said, and Mayank has just reiterated the fact that overall milk and milk associated product industry in India is growing at a very fast pace. Milk may grow at around 3 to 5% depending on the market, but I think there is a huge opportunity which is existing today in the value-added product categories. Especially most of the product categories in India are growing upwards of 20%, and this is being led not only by the fact that the companies are reforming themselves on their own, but also there is a huge consumer shift which is happening towards packaged goods overall. If you see in multiple categories, you will see people are moving towards packaged goods. Also because of the recent pandemic, people have become much more conscious. Newer innovations are coming into the market, and they will have to continue to come to the market. Just to respond to your specific question, the overall, what I see, this particular initiative by the government, let's see the overall ecosystem which really starts at the farmer level. Now the farmer level, when we see the way milk is sourced and collected across various state governments or states and regions in the country, there's a huge variability, and there's a huge amount of channel partners who are there who collect this particular commodity from the farmer and bring it to the processing companies or industries which are finally making it the right product. I think this particular initiative can help a lot of investments into local entrepreneurs, because not only companies like Mother Dairy who are involved in large-scale procurement, there are a lot of these mid-sized entrepreneurs who are aggregators at the village level, because not all big companies can reach out into each and every farmer, and there are states where cooperative movement is still not very, very strong, and hence this particular program can reach out to those small, medium-sized entrepreneurs, give them the right technology. See, what is happening is those people don't have access to latest technology, latest know-how,
right,
and possible investments which can come to them at much better pricing in the market. So this can really help. This can also help investments into geographies or states which lack infrastructure for this particular development, which will directly benefit the farmer. And I think these are two big things which can happen at the sourcing level. And obviously, when it comes to processing, I think mid-sized and big-sized companies can always benefit from these schemes, because the government is actually talking to the entrepreneurs and the investment partners to exactly solve their specific issues, challenges, and opportunities. So I think it's a great move by the government to move in this direction.
Right. Vashama, we've got some clarity on the context, but it come to the key subject of our conversation, Dairy Investment Accelerator. We understand that it is going to be a team that will act as an interface between enterprises, entrepreneurs, and those who want to invest. If you could tell us a little more about it, ma'am, what is this team composition like? What will be their responsibility? What are the particular interventions that they will participate in?
Right. So, as you know, Invest India is a company which belongs to the government, and the purpose of creating that company was to accelerate investment. So, the Invest India has an investment promotion desk in our ministry, and in the Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying. But to make it a much more, to have a multiplier effect for that desk, what we thought is that this is the right time for us to have much better information all around this whole subject, and also put in a little more human resource to make it more effective. And for this purpose, we have teamed up the Invest India team and a group from the Boston Consultancy Group and people from the ministry, of course, who are now together working as a single team and reaching out to investors, and at the same time also creating the bridge between this ministry, other ministries who deal with all kinds of entrepreneurs and investment, and with the state governments also. So it's a joint team of the private sector and the public sector trying to help both the private sector and the public sector and the farmer.
Right. And now, yeah, please go on.
Yeah, so some of the important steps that they are taking, the first is just gathering information. Right. Because often we don't know what is really happening in the market, we don't have updated information. So, trying to understand what kind of investment sentiment is there out there, what is the kind of thing that the private sector player is looking at, what is the thing that we can enable them to do better, because they bring the money, they bring the expertise. But we would like to point them to a particular kind of market, a particular kind of potential. Then interacting with the state governments, finding out what are their schemes, because most state governments are also nowadays very keen to promote investment in their states, and usually have all kinds of new schemes coming up. So keeping abreast of that, letting investors know about it, helping them to choose which state will suit their needs with regard to milk procurement as well as to the overall industry environment there. And there are always, because this is a growing sector, new things keep happening, there's new technology coming all the time. And therefore, the regulatory space around it also needs to go on advancing and evolving to meet. So we have the BIS, we have the FSSAI, we have so many other regulators who also will need to keep abreast of what is happening technologically and make sure that the best products reach the consumer. So this kind of connect is also something that the accelerator will continue to do. And finally, there is a simple matter of outreach. So I think we are looking forward to a lot of events, webinars, exhibitions, and so on and so forth being organized by the accelerator.
Right. Mayankji, from the perspective of entrepreneurs and investors, what opportunities do you see? I mean, we pride over India's dairy sector being one of the biggest, largest in the world in terms of milk production. But looking ahead, what kind of opportunities can investors and entrepreneurs look at? And in that sense, how does this accelerator play a key role in making sure that the two are able to meet, those who want to start an enterprise and those who want to invest in the sector?
So first of all, if we start from consumer demand, if you look at dairy-based beverages, for example, it's been growing at about 24% CAGR for the last 4 to 5 years, and is projected to grow at 24% CAGR in the coming 5 years till 2025. So when the market is growing at a rapid pace, there will always be space for entrepreneurs to actually come and invest and actually launch their products. You are living in an ecosystem where the consumption market of dairy-based products, which are perceived to be healthy, are going to grow at a much faster pace than packaged food or FMCG. That's what creates the space for private entrepreneurs to come in and invest and launch their products. And you know, a lot of times when we start looking at dairy products, we kind of start and stop at the large organized branded players. Right. But if we actually start becoming a little granular, that even that, little shop on the side of the road, which is selling you some mithai or some sandesh, are also converting dairy into a value-added product and selling. So the opportunity will really lie across cross-spectrum of small, medium, and large entrepreneurs to be able to invest. Again, if you look at the construct of a dairy business, you're dealing with farmers at one end, you're then dealing with processing, which there's a gray area between whether it's food processing or whether it comes into dairy, because there's some parts of it which goes into dairy, and then if you're doing value added, it starts coming into the purview of food processing, and then you have the consumer in terms of food safety. Now, this kind of an accelerator program, which has been set up by the ministry, can actually be the bridge for us entrepreneurs right from the farm level all the way up to the consumer. There are a lot of times that we get stuck between different regulatory environments or different schemes or different propositions that the government have actually put out. And this kind of a accelerator where CII, BCG and Invest India will be working together and facilitating the investment and coordinating with the state government, as Vasha ma'am just said, would actually provide that platform for us to be able to execute our investments and get our products across to the consumers in as short a time as possible. So this is something that we have been, we had requested for a very long time, and we're extremely happy that now the government has actually taken the initiative, and we are getting, we're moving more towards EODB. So the ease of doing business in the dairy industry, I feel, is going to be greatly enhanced with this. And at the same time, let's also remember that we are dealing with 80 million small and marginal farmers with a herd size of average between 4 to 6 milch animals.
Right.
So the kind of work which needs to be done at the back end when it comes to the farmers, the outreach programs, the various developmental programs that the government of India has, like the Rashtriya Gokul Mission, the National Program for Dairy Development, the National Livestock Mission, the Livestock Health and Disease Control, the infrastructure development at the village level. So that will end up increasing the production, ensuring the milk that we're producing is safe, get the transportation of the milk through organized and cooperatives to processing units in a safe environment, and ultimately us as companies being able to invest in state-of-the-art machinery and launching products which the consumers are tending to. There's a huge shift, in the last 2 years where people want healthier products.
Right.
And milk is one of the best sources of protein, one of the best sources of nutrition that we can get in the country. So it is imperative when we also look at nutritional requirements of us as a population that we give a lot of impetus to the dairy business, to the dairy industry as a whole, and we increase the number of options that is there in front of our consumers to choose a healthy packaged food product.
Right. Manishji, that point about ease of doing business, if you can imagine a before and after scenario, what, according to you, would be the key intervention points for a team like Dairy Investment Accelerator in order to sort of address the issues that hitherto had affected the sector, but now could be addressed in a more organized manner?
I think one of the things would be, like we say in sales and marketing, understanding the customer. I think one of the things which the government of India seems to be doing with this particular program is actually, like Vasha also said, outreaching to the people who really are the stakeholders in this whole investment program. And it does not necessarily include the big corporates or the big size companies, which both Mayank and I represent in a way. But I think they're also outreaching to smaller players, medium-sized players, MSME players, because each of these players will have a different challenge and opportunities as well, and maybe design programs around their specific needs. And I think this is something which I feel will really help accelerate investments into this sector. Most of the big organizations have infrastructure or people who can evaluate various schemes, do certain amount of collaboration with the government, and be able to put their money behind investments where they assume the market will go. But smaller enterprises have that facilities, and they are really, really afraid to really outreach to the government. But I think with this particular program, once this whole outreach is studied properly, I'm sure the programs will be designed in such a way that even the small people or small entrepreneurs who need maybe 50 lakhs or a crore of investment, but will add a huge amount of value in the local ecosystem for the farmer and the company as an intermediary. I think these kind of programs will really help develop the dairy sector at the ground level. I will not add to what Mayank said. I'm sure that represents the thoughts from front end for sure. But I think there's a lot of investment opportunities which lie on the ground where farmer incomes, farmer development can really take place.
Right. We're talking about the exciting potential in the dairy sector and Dairy Investment Accelerator in particular. We'll continue our conversation. We're heading for a short break. Do stay with us.
مرحبا إلى الهند.
زري إنديا.
سلام إنديا.
नमस्ते इंडिया
नमस्कार भारत
مي
Nous
إنديا
sommes là.
نحن هنود.
इंडिया
माँ हिंदी हस्ती
हिंदियानी
सलाम हिंदुस्तान
We are India.
Your window to rising India. India's voice on global platforms. Latest news from India and around the world. In-depth analysis of global headlines. Watch DD India in your country. Available for downlink in all Southeast Asian countries. STTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 17 at 93.5 degrees east. HDTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 10 at 83 degrees east. For technical details, scan here. Switch to DD India now.
Welcome back. You're watching In Focus. We're talking about Dairy Investment Accelerator. An eminent panel of guests from the government and the industry continue to be with us. We have with us Varsha Joshi, Joint Secretary, Cattle and Dairy Division, Department of Animal Husbandry and Dairying, Mayank Jalan, Chairman and Managing Director, Keventer Agro, Chairman CII, National Committee on Animal Husbandry and Dairy. Also, Manish Bandalesh, Managing Director, Mother Dairy Fruit and Vegetable Private Limited. Varsha ma'am, if I can come to you. When we talk about dairy, we also talk about the dairy farmers. The achievements, the yardsticks of success that the dairy sector has been able to achieve. To what extent has the prosperity also percolated down to the dairy farmer? Because in your initial intervention you also spoke about what makes our dairy sector unique is that a farmer with a small cattle herd can also contribute to India's overall milk production. So in that sense, how is the prosperity also returning to the farmer, and in the context of imagining newer investment and reforms in the sector?
Right. So in fact, dairy is unique in exactly the aspect you mentioned about how much goes back to the farmer. As much as 80% of what you pay for 1 liter of milk reaches the farmer. I think this kind of money going back to the primary producer, to that extent, is I think it's probably not equal in any other agricultural product or any product really. That 80% goes. And secondly, it goes straight away. It doesn't go. If you're having a crop, something like wheat or rice, then you get your income maybe once or twice a year. But in dairy, your money comes every single day. And in fact, dairy is also known as the ATM of the farmer, because every single day you are getting some income out of it, and that keeps the farmer afloat through very difficult situations. And again, I'd like to credit the cooperative sector for having established this kind of fair play across the entire sector, and it has also been the benchmark for the private sector, which is today equal to or exceeding and equally good for the farmer. because it has established these standards that the payment must happen in time, that the full payment must go, and so on and so forth. So for a smallholder, it is expected that something like 30 to 40% of his income is going to come from his cattle. So it's a very important contributor, not only to the nutrition side, but also to the economic side in a farmer's life.
Right. Manishji, also the pattern that we see milk production rises also at the time of crop failures, and the manner in which farmers can bank on the dairy sector. Also the vision of the government to double farmer income as it sort of invests and focuses alongside their regular farming. They invest and they engage themselves in dairy activities. How do you see that as a key game changer for the farmers as well, as far as boosting their income, doubling their income is concerned?
I think this is one area which absolutely supports the government's vision of doubling farmer income. And like Madam Varsha Joshi has also said, this is one area where the farmer gets this money almost upfront. If we see the efforts which are being undertaken by the government and NDDB, for example, which are a parent organization in developing areas of the sector in various geographies, the kind of development program which are there on ground and the kind of investments which is there, I think this is a priority sector for the government in terms of being able to develop marginal and small farmers especially, because the people who are directly affected or gain out of this are the smaller farmers, not necessarily the bigger farmers, because they have alternate sources of income from crops and other things. But the small farmer, which is the marginal farmer, landless farmers, these are the people who actually benefit out of this. If you take the data from 2013-14, where the milk availability per capita across India has actually gone up by 50%, or 33%, sorry, from 307 grams per capita to almost 406 grams per capita, which itself says this 32% or 33% increase in milk availability is, where is this money going? This is directly going to the farmer, because in our ecosystem, we don't have corporates into farms. We don't have big farms. We don't have any major investment into farms by any big players. Everything is going to the farmers only. So this whole 33% increase is absolutely going to the small and marginal farmers. So I think this is one of the great ways, if we promote this and the industry grows at the pace at which it is growing, this will help increase farmer incomes by multiple fold.
Right. Mayank, it's heartening to know the kind of premium that dairy farmers are able to receive from their hard work. But talking about Dairy Investment Accelerator, the culture of investment, we talk about demand-driven investment that is driven by the kind of demand that consumers have. But is it also possible for us to imagine an investment environment ecosystem which is farmer-centric? Farmer with a smaller herd of cattle, what is in it for him or her if we talk about boosting investment in the days ahead?
So let's look at some factual reality. As Manishji said, that we have increased the per capita availability of milk by 33%. And at the same time, if you look at the last 20 years, the price given to farmers for per litre milk has consistently increased over the last 20 years. I don't think there's been a single if you take a 3-year moving average, there's not been a single year where the farm prices have come down. And also, it's a fact and a reality today that the average yield per animal in India is probably at about 50% of the global benchmark. So that is where we have the opportunity for the farmers to be able to increase their production. The challenge is that if you do increase the production, let's say the availability goes to 800 grams per capita from the current 400, we need to be able to have the ecosystem and the infrastructure and the investments to be able to absorb this and to be able to give it to a consumer in a form that he or she would like to consume. So, and also at the same time, it's a factual reality that wherever there has been an organized, and when I talk about organized, I don't really talk about large multinationals or cooperatives or national companies. Even if a village level collection center with an investment of 10 lakh rupees is set up, the farmer realization in that region goes up by 10 to 20%. And as the farmer realization starts going up, there's an incentive for the farmer to go back and invest in the animal, in the herd, in the feed, in the animal health, in artificial insemination, in ensuring that the yield that he can get is more. So I honestly, we work with about 50,000 farmers in Bengal directly, and I can tell you for a fact that the farmers of India, the Indian farmers, are by far the most entrepreneurial people that you will come across. All they want is an assurance that we will buy it at a fair price.
Right.
If they see their incomes going up, they will go back and buy more animals. They will go back and give better feed. And if you ask me honestly, that there is probably a potential to increase the farmer income by 40 to 60% just by improving the productivity and slightly higher prices in the next 2 years itself. So, as everyone has been saying, is the ATM. I mean, let's understand that a cow gives milk 365 days of the year. That milk is consumed 365 days of the year, and the farmer gets the money 365 days a year.
Right.
And you look at the last 20 years, you know, an average realization by the farmer would not have reduced even for a single year. So all we need is entrepreneurs to come in, pump in money into this, right from 10 lakh rupees for a VLC up to hundreds of crores for a large factory to make value-added dairy beverages, to make value-added dairy products, to be able to deliver safe food to the consumers. And you're going to see this 80 million farmer ecosystem really blossom. And when you get so much of prosperity coming at the bottom of your pyramid, you will see it drive the rural economy. You will see it drive consumption across various segments of the economy. You know, whether it's steel, cement, FMCG, white goods. And I honestly believe that dairy can be that sector which can drive the prosperity at the bottom of the pyramid of our country.
Right. And talking about empowering the dairy sector as a whole and specifically the farmers, Varsha ma'am, you mentioned a couple of times about the transformative impact of the cooperative societies that they've had in the country in the dairy sector. Now, we're also looking at farmer producer organizations. In terms of reforms, interventions and investment, how do you see these institutions taking it forward, both for the farmers and the sector as a whole?
So the milk producer companies came in when the Companies Act was amended some time back to allow something which is not exactly a cooperative. It is registered as a company under the Companies Act, but it is meant entirely for the benefit of the individual member of the company. And this is a much more transparent and that is a beautiful mechanism for ensuring that farmers get aggregated and get fair price and also get good quality. So this is one mechanism. Manish also mentioned another very important aspect, that there are aggregators other than the cooperatives and the milk producer companies also. And these are aggregators which are supplying to the private sector. And because of the benchmarking, because of the habituation of the farmers that the cooperative system is there, that we are empowered, even when such aggregators go out and do their business, beyond a limit, they will not be in a position to exploit the farmer, because the farmer will just then choose not to give to that person. So it is just as beneficial for the farmer to have an aggregator mechanism which is giving eventually to a good private company as it is to give to the cooperatives. And that is where the potential is still huge, because even now it's between 10 to 15% of the total milk produced in India is being picked up in the cooperative sector, and I would imagine a similar amount is being picked up by the organized private sector, which leaves more than half of the milk still going in the unorganized mechanism. This is where all the investment that we are hoping to channelize needs to come. And it's not just that you put up a huge processing plant or an ice cream plant, and that's where the investment has to come. It all starts from the milk cooling point, where you need some way to chill the milk till it reaches the processing plant. And as it was said, a single individual who wants to pump in 10 lakh rupees and create that bulk milk cooler, he is contributing to the entire milk industry. So creating this kind of ancillary value chain, creating the cold storage, creating the transportation, creating the milk tankers who will take the milk, here there is so much opportunity for individuals, smaller entrepreneurs, for more employment of young educated people in the villages. So the whole potential there is huge. There are something like 3.2 lakh potential villages in the country. And the cooperative sector touches less than 2 lakh of them. So there's this still huge, this untapped potential which needs to come into the fold and make the industry grow. This is where some of our new schemes, you may be aware that the cabinet has just approved 9,800 crore livestock package, which is the ministry's flagship program now. And within that, out of this 9,800 crore that we will be spending as a ministry, we are expecting to leverage something like 54,000 crores of investment across the whole sector. And this is because we are now choosing to put the government's money into those places where the maximum multiplier effect will come. And the most important thing is technology for breed improvement, for better productivity. So that's all part of the Rashtriya Gokul mission, which is going to be mainly about technology enhancement. So we have the National Artificial Insemination Program, which gives free artificial insemination services to farmers across the country. We have new technologies like IVF and sex-sorted semen for higher productivity cattle. And we also have a genomic chip which will make identification of good cattle very easy. So a farmer who wants to set up a new farm and buy good quality cattle will find it very easy to do so, whereas it's a little difficult today. We also have other schemes like the AHIDF, which is again unique as far as the ministry's interventions in the sector are concerned. The Animal Husbandry Infrastructure Development Fund is 15,000 crores worth of funding which is available in the form of interest subvention, which will go to the private sector. This is the first time that the ministry is going out, reaching out to the private sector and actively incentivizing them to come and invest. And this is a scheme which is more than 1,000 crores have already been mobilized through this, and the scheme will go on for the next few years. So we expect that each and every penny which is spent in this way will end up directly benefiting the farmer.
Right. We'll discuss a little more on the animal husbandry related initiatives when we return. We're heading for a short break. There's lots more coming up. Do stay with us.
Your window to rising India. India's voice on global platforms. Latest news from India and around the world. In-depth analysis of global headlines. Watch DD India in your country. Available for downlink in Middle East countries. STTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 17 at 93.5 degrees east. HDTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 10 at 83 degrees east. For technical details, scan here. Switch to DD India now.
Welcome back. You're watching In Focus, and we're talking about Dairy Investment Accelerator as a means of empowering the dairy sector, which is a source of livelihood and, of course, nutrition for many, many people and farmers. Manish, if I can come to you. Before we head for the break, Varsha ji was listing several important initiatives for animal husbandry, for healthy cattle in the dairy sector. What are the gap areas that you've identified over the years that now can be focused upon? Now that we're looking at focused investment, how can those gap areas vis-a-vis animal husbandry can also be tackled? What would be those areas?
I think there's a lot of work which has happened in the last decade or so in terms of promoting animal husbandry and animal care at the ground level. And like Madam Varsha has said, initiatives which are being taken by organized players like us and NTTV and many other channels include artificial insemination, educating the farmers in terms of how they should really give the right feed to their cattle. I think this is still a tip of the iceberg. There needs to be a continued focus in this direction for us as organizations, as responsible organizations, and also various government organizations and schemes to promote and educate our farmers much more than they are today educated on. Because like Mayank also said, animal productivity still remains low in India. And unless that improves, farmer income will remain focused, but it can multiply as we go along. And this still remains a gap. And Ma'am Varsha also said, I mean, in the cooperative sector, not more than 25-30% of the farmers are engaged. Rest of the farmers are, out of the 8 crores which was mentioned here, are still being addressed through various intermediaries. And hence, they don't have any interest in terms of farmer income. They will still exploit the farmers where possible. They are finally small-time aggregators. And hence, it is important for us to spread our net a little wider as responsible organizations so that we are able to tap into much more areas, much more number of farmers and educate them. I think that is one serious gap which exists, and there are a lot of work which is happening on the ground, but I think we all need to contribute to that. I hope I have answered your question.
Right. Mayankji, taking this point forward, educating the farmers, the view of having healthy cattle and also boosting production, what kind of best practices exist in the world outside? Although India is one of the largest milk producers, but in terms of best practices, in terms of drawing efficiency in the work that we do, what are the interventions that can be done, and how important would be technology and innovation in this regard while we are helping farmers extract the best from the cattle?
So again, when you compare it to the globe, you have to remember one thing, that India is in a very unique position. Where we are the largest producer, but we are also, every single farmer that is producing milk has a herd of maybe 4 to 6 cows. I have traveled across the world. I've seen dairy industry in most of the developed countries, whether it's Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, the UK, the US. And typically in the outside world, they're large farms. They are, farms with a minimum 1,000 animals going up to 20,000, 30,000 animals. So when it comes to innovation, I think it has to really be innovation made for India and made by India. When it comes to technology, the technology exists. I think, that we are not waiting for any path-breaking or new age technology to really revolutionize the dairy industry. Most of the technology exists in the world in some form or the other, right. And it exists in India with companies like IDMC who have been pioneering this for a number of years. But it needs to be made for the Indian farmer and downsized. It needs to be taken to them. I think we are still a few steps away from actually getting into those kind of technology deployments. The first thing that we need to focus on is animal health and animal feed. I think if we can actually get animal health and animal feed right, that could probably increase the productivity in the yield by 25-30% straight away. And the constant education which is required to the farmer, that look, if you're going to feed your animal well, and if you're going to give your animal the right nutrition and the right mix of protein, foliage, and the various other things that the animal needs, you will be able to produce the right quality of milk. And when you are being able to milk the animal, at that moment, how do you ensure that your milk is safely milked and safely transported to the collection center? So only if these two small interventions, which Keventer has been driving with the farmers that we are working with, and I completely agree with Manishji, that there is a space for intermediaries who are responsible, but it's unfortunate that a lot of the intermediaries are not responsible. They do end up exploiting the farmers. they do end up not actually disseminating any information which helps them. And that gives the entire gambit of intermediaries a bad name, but there are some good intermediaries. So, but we as responsible organizations need to focus on getting the right information to the farmer. And a farmer only wants to know that how he will end up making more money. So he needs to know that if you feed your animals this, if you take care of your animal like this, you will be able to produce 2 liters more. And when you're producing this 2 liters more, just make sure that the container is clean and it's sanitized. That you are being able to transport it in either insulated or some refrigerated mechanism. You are ensuring that the MBRT levels are not going up. You are ensuring that nobody's adulterating the milk with any additives. And as the fat and the SNF content go up, their incomes are going to go up. So I think the first challenge that we have as a country and as responsible corporate citizens and as the government, as cooperatives, is ensuring that these 2 buckets of information of the right feed and the right nutrition, the right health, and what to do once you are milking the animal, how to take care of it, would go a long way in increasing their income, increasing the productivity, and increasing the availability of milk for the consumers.
Right. And Varsha ma'am, on that theme of deriving maximum value out of one's vocation in the dairy sector, is it also important to discuss about how the cattle, the animal also has a productivity cycle, the issue of abandoned animals that we as a layperson we see all around us, and if the dairy sector truly has to become holistic, that sort of final stage also has to be taken care of. On that front, ma'am, what is being done and how important is it to address it as an equally important aspect of the dairy sector?
Yeah, this has become a bit of a bigger and bigger problem, and my experience shows that it is a huge problem even in the urban areas where the animals are left abandoned. There are 2 aspects to this, how this can be addressed, and both of them relate to technology. The first is, I mentioned earlier that there is a technology called sorted sex semen, because most of the male calves born are really not of much use to the farmer. So if it is possible to have a technology where the farmer is able to get the female calf and therefore a productive calf, then at least part of the problem is resolved, and that is what the sorted sex semen technology does. If you do artificial insemination with it, there is a 90% chance that you're going to get a female calf. So at source, this problem gets stemmed to some extent. But then, of course, the cow after a certain age is going to stop producing milk anyway, so they need to be looked after. And for this, the only way we can ensure this is to make sure that there is some value attached to the cow even after the milk is not coming. And if you are able to create an economy around cow dung, and that economy can be either through the soil fertility side or the energy side, because the cow dung, as we all know from time immemorial, is a source of both energy and of soil fertility. But to do this in a way which will be most economically viable is a bit of a challenge, and this is where a lot of technological work is happening. How to create biogas which can go directly into the gas system like CNG, and how to ensure that every part of the remainder which doesn't go into the energy, the soil fertility possibilities are fully exploited, the nitrate side, the urea side, creating, mixing it with rock phosphate and making phosphate fertilizer. So all these technologies are happening, and the ministry is championing this kind of demonstration projects also. There is a beautiful project going on in the village of Zakariapur in Gujarat, where the NDDB and Amul have together made sure that every farmer is making money even out of the gobar. So if that happens, then there is a far better chance that the cow which has survived beyond its milk life is also going to be looked after and not left out abandoned. The other side where I said the technology can help save the day is also related to quality of milk, and this is where we as a ministry, we are having a universal vaccination program for foot and mouth disease. Along with this vaccination, what we are doing is we're putting ear tags on each and every animal. There's a 12-digit unique identification number, and the tag is being put on the animal. The tag is mapped onto a portal where if you put in the tag ID or you read the barcode in the tag, you get the full information about the animal, whom it belongs to, how old it is, what is its health status, and so on and so forth. So once every animal has that identity, it's much harder for the unscrupulous dairy farmer, which is, again, my experience shows that a lot of them, especially in the urban areas, not so much the rural farmers.
Right.
So that animal cannot be a stray without any kind of identity. It belongs to someone, it belongs to some farmer, and that tendency to leave stray will be greatly curtailed when this entire exercise is completed. There are something like 30 crore milch animals in the country, and bovines, I mean, and 17 to 18 crore have already been tagged. So this exercise is going on. On top of this, we intend to build an entire digital stack by which the data which comes from the animal is going to be utilized both by the public sector for information and by the private sector for creating apps and otherwise tracking what is happening with the animal. Which brings me to the other aspect of traceability. Because product traceability means that basically I know that the milk I'm drinking has come from which village, from which farmer, and if possible from which cow. And this may seem a little far-fetched at the moment, but this is actually happening in a lot of Western countries, and there's no good reason why it cannot eventually happen in India.
Right.
Because once you reach the chilling point, the milk cooling point, the movement, the fate of that milk once it enters that organized system is well known. We know from one chilling plant it goes to another plant, or it goes in a tanker, it goes to a processing plant. And then after that it is a manufactured product, and its whole life cycle is going to be easily traced. The difficulty is in between the farm and the chilling points, which is the cow, whether the farmer brought the milk in time,
Right.
whether that cow is disease-free or not. So this aspect, as you can surely understand immediately, is easily trackable by this digital stack. But for traceability, the regulatory mechanism is not available yet, and this is in fact one of the most important tasks that the Dairy Accelerator is
Those are kind of
undertaking,
reforms, ma'am, that
working
we
on the
can
traceability.
look at in the days ahead. On that note, Varsha Joshi, Mayank Jalan, Manish Bandlish, thank you very much for joining us on In Focus and helping us understand in a simple manner the issues, challenges facing the dairy sector, and also the exciting reforms like Dairy Investment Accelerator. Thanks very much for being with us. And with that, we conclude this edition of In Focus. News and updates continue on DD India after a short break. Namaskar.